We're good to go. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Good? Okay. That's a good response. I appreciate that. My name is Lawrence Sumet. I am the chair of Visual Effects Society Toronto section. Thank you for coming to this epic event. We have a big thanks here to our co-host, Mr. X, for working with us to put on this event and making it extra special. So big thank you to Mr. X. So none of this happens without a lot of work on this section. So I just want to take a moment to talk about how all these events become possible. So first off, we got the board of managers from VES Toronto. So this is myself, Ray McMillan, Mark Hammond, Josh Miles-Judry, Amanda Hepner, woo to all these people, Lisa Sepp-Wilson, Gustavo Sanchez-Perez, Kate Zagaris, Joe Hughes, Colleen Jenkinson, Mark Elent, and Jyoti Deshpande Namjoshi. So big round of applause for them because they put on these events. I also want to give it a shout out. When you got checked in, you were checked in by two volunteers from Sheridan College, Chae-Wan Lee and Carl Shu. So thanks to them for showing up. Now, all of this costs money, so we can't do this without our annual sponsors. So I want to make a big thank you to our platinum sponsors, which include Mr. X, Rodeo Effects, Autodesk Research, Side Effects Software, and City of Toronto. Huge round of applause for all those people. Thank you. And then we have Mind Map Studios, Sheridan College, Foundry, Clutch Media, Strata XR. And then we also have HumTum VFX, Switch VFX, Rocket Science VFX, Annex Pro, Georgetown College. And we also have our valued partners who work with us. So we have CASO, Women in Film and Television Plus Toronto, WIFT Plus, and Ontario Creates. Now, one more group I want to thank here. I promise I will stop blabbing as soon as I can. VES Toronto members. They pay dues, and those dues come to our section to help us put on these events. So they enjoy free access to all our events. They enjoy a lot of perks. And so if you're interested in joining that community, I really encourage you to reach out to VES Toronto or check out vsglobal.org to learn about what becoming a member is. Because the more members we have, the more events and the bigger events we can put on. So please give that a thought. Speaking of VES member events, we have screenings coming up. In early May, we'll do Deep Water. And then in end of May, we'll do the new Star Wars, Mandalorian, and Grogu. So that's pretty cool. And a lot more cool stuff coming up. Now, quick order of operations for the evening so you know what's coming. I'm going to pass to an intro from Mr. X. Then you're going to see some really cool behind-the-scenes footage from Frankenstein. And then we're going to get into the panel discussion. After the panel discussion finishes, on the other side of the stage, there'll be a mic. You can come up and ask questions to the panel. And that's the event. So please turn off your phones. And then last but not least, I'd like to welcome Frankenstein overall VFX supervisor and Mr. X founder, Dennis Berardi.
Hello. Can you guys hear me? Great. Well, thanks for coming. And it's great to see such a good turnout. Tells me a couple of things, that you like the film and that you're nerdy enough to come hear us talk about the visual effects. And we do hope to get into that tonight. A fairly deep dive. We got some great panelists, and we're going to get into blue screens and gimbals and hair grooms and fur grooms and nuke scripts and all of that stuff. And hopefully some thematic stuff and some anecdotes as well. I was hoping tonight could also be sort of a celebration of the talent in Toronto. I think it's a really special place to make movies. I think it's because of the talent that Guillermo had chosen to do the film Frankenstein in the city. If you think about it at Guillermo's level, I mean, he could make films anywhere in the world. You can green light them in any city in the world. But he chose to do it here, and it was because, this film was very personal for him. It's his magnum opus. It's 40 years in the making. I remember being in his office and he had like filled up probably 15 notebooks of scribbles and sketches and storyboards. A very personal story for him, but he chose to do it here in Toronto. He wanted a real handcrafted look. Visual effects are handcrafted also, by the way. We'll get into that. And he chose to do it here because of the talent, and I'm hoping tonight we can celebrate that talent a little bit, you know, naming names and processes and how we do it, and so hopefully it's going to be a bit of a celebration. And speaking of the great talent, we've got a great panel tonight. We've got Jeff Hill, who's he's our special effects coordinator on set. He's the master of all things in front of the camera that blow up, go boom, or fall, or shake, or... And Stacy Dodge is here tonight. She's the visual effects producer. She's a great strategist, a longtime Guillermo collaborator, and our fearless leader. And Io Burgess is here. He's the visual effects supervisor at Mr. X. I think Io's one of the big reasons that the visual effects look so great. Thank you, Io, for being here. And Brandon Shasma, associate visual effects supervisor. And Brandon was also the visual effects editor on the movie, so he's going to bring a unique perspective from that perspective as well. And so what we've done is we've cut a little reel to kind of get the juices flowing. Hopefully it sparks some questions, because we're going to have a Q&A, so be thinking about questions. And then we'll do the reel, and then we'll start the panel. Thanks a lot. Check, check.
Hi.
Check. All right. So Jeff Hill, Stacy Dodge, Io Burgess, and Brandon Chasma, everybody. So just to get things rolling, I thought I'd start with Io to kind of get your first impressions. What were your first impressions, and what was your first entry into the film, just to get us rolling here?
Yeah, I started. I think you were setting up for a tech scout, and you wanted to explore like augmented reality. So yeah, I got involved, sort of looking at different software, trying different things, prepping models to get into the tech scout. So we were prepping the Horizont ship and Frankenstein's tower. Ended up using Preview AR and Adobe Aero for the plan. Just to be a little nerdy, because we're VFX people here, Preview AR was really good because you could put sensor dimensions in and lens kits and stuff like that. So it was probably like a more technical tool, a little less stable, but a good tool. So yeah, that's how I joined the project.
Were you intimidated when you read the script? What were your first impressions when you read the script?
I wasn't intimidated. Honestly, it was the thing I really...
I was.
The thing I liked about the script was it like you read the words and it puts images in your head. You could kind of see the movie really, really early. It was very, I don't know, the words were visual. I don't know how else to explain it. So after reading the script, I just felt like it was going to be a really strong visual movie, really fun to watch, and yeah, I was excited. Maybe a little nervous, but excited. It was a good, yeah.
Same question to Stacy. What's your first foray into the film? And after you read the script, what did you think?
Yeah, well, I was in Rome at the time, and you know, someone from one of the executives at Netflix was like, "Yeah, we have this job coming up, and it's, you know, we're having a hard time finding a producer that's the right fit. And do you know Dennis Bernardi?" And I was like, "Yes, I know Dennis Bernardi, and that's not how you pronounce his name, but yes, I know him." And yeah, so we kind of went from there, and then I just called Dennis like right after that phone call, and you know, I signed an NDA, of course. I kind of like embody an NDA. I have like a universal NDA for all of life. But anyway, they sent me an NDA as a formality, and then I read the script that night, and yeah, the rest is kind of history. But I remember that parking lot, and you know, just Guillermo looking at the iPad at literally an empty parking lot. And Io and his team had put together this AR version of the ship, and you know, it was really invaluable because you know, we're just in the middle of, and it was very cold, and we're in the middle of you know, the parking lot down at Unwin, and he was able to put the iPad up and just see the ship and choose the lenses and everything, and it was like it became real at that moment. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, well, we did it with the Millhouse too. Remember when the location scout had the iPad and framed
Yes.
it up, and you picked the exact spot on the location using an AR system, that Preview AR system that Io built.
Yeah, it's a grassy field,
Yeah.
and suddenly it becomes reality, at least in your imagination.
Yeah.
You know.
What about you, Brandon?
Well, we always kind of knew that it was happening, and it was just kind of a matter of when. Like you said, Guillermo's been planning this for so long. But with Io, we got into it kind of like 4 months before going to camera to build those environments. He came to us and said, we need to figure out how to shoot some of these things. So we were literally looking at Google Maps and looking at what existed and building off of that. And we started building some previs and previs scenes and layouts, not even just to find out what shots were going to be, but to explain to people what the set was and what we were building, because we were so early before going to camera, we didn't have a lot of time. So it was kind of doing tech viz, but doing it in a way that we were explaining to all the other departments so they could see the vision, rather than doing a traditional previs thing where we were trying to find cameras, because Guillermo knows all his angles, it's all in his head, we had to try to get it out. So yeah, I was doing the frozen battlefield layouts and planning for what that was going to look like, the Horizont ship, and then the tower, which I'm sure we'll talk more about, but and the wolves.
Yeah.
Figuring out the wolves, yeah.
What about you, Jeff?
I mean, you know,
Mike.
Your world is a little different than mine.
I mean, when did you, like you read the script, what did you think about it?
Well, I mean, Frankenstein was a huge thing for me growing up. You know, and then working with Guillermo in the last few films, you sort of hear rumors that, you know, Frankenstein is coming. And then, of course, when, you know, he announced it, it was like a dream come true for me, really. So reading the script, you know, I pull out the big things, the lab, the holding cells, the mill, the snow. And just trying to figure out which one is going to be the first on my list. And, you know, talking about the mill, talking about the battlefield, you know, the challenges there.
The creation scene, which we'll get into.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's a certain process that I have, which involves, you know, how hard is it going to be to get snow there, or, you know, are we going to be making all these gears in the mill work, for example? So when I read the script, I didn't know what to expect, you know, and working with Guillermo on the last couple of shows, you know, you got to be ready for everything, you know.
You have to be ready for everything. Yeah. I mean, my first foray into it was, I think, during Nightmare Alley. He said, we're going to make Frankenstein. And I said, okay. But he had actually mentioned it on The Shape of Water, like way back. But I mean, and I was pretty intimidated when I read it. It was wall to wall. Everything was going to be visual effects. We have over 2 hours of visual effects in the film. And I remember, you know, one of the things Guillermo would always say to us, I'm not making eye candy, I'm making eye protein. You know, you guys got to get this shit right. So, but, and we had a big scope of work across, like we had environments, we had water, we had fire, we had creatures, we had everything under the sun. But the most important thing we wanted to do is to try and start with a baked-in photographic base. And I know, Jeff, you have a lot of prep that you do, and that when we do when we're prepping a movie, and I like the fact that you're always doing a lot of testing.
Yeah.
I know you were doing a lot of, this is a big upfront R&D thing for you. Maybe you can unpack that a little bit, and maybe get into the, you know, the snow dressing and maybe even the ship gimbal of it all.
Well, I mean, we spoke very early on. I think it was probably 5 months. I think I spoke to Guillermo maybe 3 months after I started prepping. You know, a lot of the stuff happened between myself, my co-supervisor, Andrew Verhoeven, Brant Gordon, supervising art director. We met 2-3 times a week and talked about the big sequences. The boat gimbal was a huge one. I mean, not only did we have to build like a 130-foot steel structure that was eventually going to have a boat clad on top of it that's going to rock back and forth very violently, but we also had stunt people, we had background people who had to have torches, right? And I mean, you know, you think a person with a flaming, you know, stick in their hand is simple. It is not, because, you know, Guillermo says, Jeff, I want 6 torches in your hand at all times. And then, of course, if you got 6 torches, well, that means you need 12, because he's really going to use 12, not 6. Yeah. And then the second, you know, take is going to be another 12, so basically you need 24, then of course you need 48, and then eventually it's 72 or 100. So that's how that goes.
Quadruple everything.
Pretty much, yeah. So that's what I mean when, you know, we have to be ready for absolutely everything. Same thing with the spike, you know, the stunt guy that flies over. We, you know, Guillermo, how many do we need? We need 3 or 4. Well, we did 25, right? Yeah. So that said, you know, to pull some of the things out from that first sequence, you know, I mean, like, I was super nervous about everything. The team that we had put together was amazing, you know, and then I think the testing part of things, like the torches, I think took us 2 months to sort of figure out how to do that.
And we had some safety issues with that too, where you couldn't really get the torches that close to the actors or the camera. Mm-hmm. So we would have these LED lights, and we shot reference with Jeff's Elements, and we ended up, you know, replacing the LEDs with burning torches. But
exactly.
You know,
yeah. I mean, there was a point too we talked about, you know, because if you can imagine, we're on a rocking ship that's going back and forth. I think it was like 15 and 18 degrees, very, you know, violently. And we've literally got pails of liquid flammable camp fuel on the deck. Yep. That I've got a group of minions that are basically taking these torches, putting them out, and then refueling them, and then lighting them on fire while Guillermo was saying, more torches, all the time.
What are we waiting for?
Yeah,
Let's go.
So I think in a run of one night, we would likely do about 2,500, torches. So there was a lot.
That's why we had to paint a couple of you guys out.
Yeah, definitely. I did say we should be sailors. Yeah, but other things that we tested earlier on, the skin, the creature.
Yeah, do you remember when the battery acid, the batteries fall through, the explosion starts to happen, the big batteries fall, the battery acid splashes onto the creature, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we tested this stuff. Jeff was testing this stuff, this sort of, well.
Yeah, well, so I fortunately had done something very, recently before this, and it was bubbling artwork, and I said, what a great way to start off the test, and it actually worked quite well. And I was basically painting metal surfaces and heating up the backside, so it was like acrylic paint, oil paints, and stuff like that. And that was sort of how we got that bubbly, effect.
Yeah, so we shoot a lot of elements with Jeff, with live action elements, kind of workshop them, test, shoot, and if we get something that we like, it becomes either we'll use it directly in a shot, a live action element in a visual effect shot, or we'll use it as reference and try and copy it or simulate it if we can. Io, let's talk about the environment, the Arctic environment, including the aurora skies, and some of the reference that was inspiration for the look and feel. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, early on, Guillermo started with reference. He was referencing landscape paintings, Albert Bierstadt, John Atkinson, Grimshaw. It was this very kind of moody sky, this vibe that we called it Frankenstein skies by the time we were done. And we kind of knew that the world had to all sit together and all work this way. So I mean, there were quite a few challenges. I think what was really good is that the set builds, the practical builds were fantastic foundation. The ship, built basically the entire ship, at least one side of it. Most of the mast, a lot of the rigging, and then the dressing around that. So the Arctic environment had to seam into that. We did a lot of surveys and LiDAR scans and just making sure we had the data to make those extensions work really, really well. I think that's a technical step that is super important, just having that data, that 3D geometry, so we can project and extend wherever we need to. For the environment itself as well, we took a lot of reference. Dennis went to Kananaskis and shot a bunch of reference, and also North Bay. We got a lot of footage there for features, and really, like everything we built, it came from a photograph or something we found or some reference. It's always like grounded. You want it to feel real. You want it to feel believable. The environment was built procedurally with Houdini. The distant stuff was built, you kind of building different features, cracks and crevices and upthrust chunks and things like that. And we had procedural tools that built that out for the wide expanse. And then for the hero stuff, we used that kit and kind of up-resed it. Again, kind of like building off of features that we found in reference. So, the idea of like being grounded and handcrafted, I think it goes all the way into the VFX and the CG work and everything we do. Another thing that I think really brings the environment together is the atmospherics, the snow, the flurries, there's all this stuff happening, and then simulating that and layering it into the plates over the CG so everything kind of just blends together, brings it into the same world along with those beautiful skies and everything. And then the last thing that I think is important to talk about with the environment is Dan Laushton's cinematography. He had a very unique look on the film. It was shot on a Alexa 65, but he used black pro mist diffusion filters for any photographers out there, which kind of soften the digital image and make it feel a bit more film-like, organic, natural. So we simulated that as well in our nuke scripts, and we kind of had all these treatments that tried to replicate those physical properties. So I think like all these different things come together, you layer it all together to make a shot that ultimately, tells a story.
Yeah, I mean, just to think about the environments as well with those Grimshaw skies is that Guillermo, and we established it pretty early with him, he had kind of a couple of rules, right, about the silhouettes. Like the film had to feel where emotion was more important than however we got there in terms of the the technology that we employed. But in terms of silhouettes, it was like we wanted to make sure the audience was reading the silhouette in 2 beats, and 1 beat for shape and the next beat for emotion. So the silhouettes with these environments were always backlighting everything. So Dan employed like a single point source light. If it was moon or sun, there'd be a single point source light and a fairly, decent amount of fill, but a single point source light. And we try and replicate all of that, obviously. So it was pretty interesting process.
We also had a really extensive sky library by the end of the show. We were all in this mode where you're driving or you're out or whatever. You see a nice sky, you take a photograph of it.
I think we were all calling them like Frankenstein sky, Frankenstein sky, or sometimes they just show up in the dailies because you guys would be waiting for the light or something, and, we'd see a good sky and you capture it.
We'd be in Scotland or something, or we'd be in Toronto, and he's like, Dennis, did you see that sky? Go shoot it right now. I'm like, okay, and we probably did that, I don't know, dozens of times, right? So Stacy, what do you think was some of the biggest challenges, as a producer and herding us crazy artists around, and how did you keep it all straight, and how did you actually do it?
I'm not sure. Really, at the end of it, I was like, hey, they should give me an honorary psychology degree. Really, 90% of the job is just keeping everyone as calm as possible. 5% of it is the finances, and the other 5% is logistics. But I think that equals 90, right? Or 100, sorry. Really it's about seeing the bigger picture all the time. So you wake up in the morning, parent your children, go to work, and just see everything, like literally everything from a 10,000-foot view. And there's so much to do. So you have to look at what's in front of you and decide what matters. What matters today, what has to be done today, what has to be done tomorrow, what has to be done overall. And it's kind of like life in a way, you just have to see everything as sort of like in a matrix way where everything matters, but you have to chunk it down and sort of move through it in a way that works day to day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, even when it doesn't work.
Even when it doesn't work, it's still, the day just ends and then there's a new day.
Well, one of the things that we should get to is how often we failed, because I think we failed our way to success on this movie, meaning, you try something, it wasn't really right, and then we just had because we were working for Guillermo and he was so passionate about things that you just kept going and going and going until you finally got it, right? But we failed a lot, I feel.
I'll never forget this. We were early days working on the mountain ranges behind the mill and around Frankenstein's tower, and we hadn't built CG assets yet. We were doing DMPs and style frames and things like that. And I remember we showed a version. Dennis showed it to Guillermo, and Dennis said Guillermo's comment was, "Have they ever seen mountains?" So we went back to the drawing board, and honestly, studying reference, studying photography, it sounds obvious, but you really do have to parse what makes something interesting and believable and sells a scale and all those things. And there were a lot of moments like that where you just
quotable quotes were never ending. And then the one thing about Guillermo is that he likes to really work fast, right? It's a very long process. I was on the project for probably almost 3 years. We're still on it because now he's doing an extended director's cut, I'll have you know, which will be a Criterion release. But he likes to move really fast, whether he's in prep, he wants to see quick turnarounds, tests from Jeff real quick, he wants to see pre-viz or post-viz or Unreal Engine stuff from us, and he's sketching and drawing all the time. His process is very iterative in real time. And Brandon, I'm wondering if you can speak to the kind of how quickly we were able to temp stuff. And Guillermo's process as the editor, the visual effects editor, could you speak to that in terms of the turnarounds and how we were able to do it in the pipeline?
So having shots turned over the next day was standard.
The next day after filming?
After shooting them, it would get shot, and then before the next day's call, Guillermo would be editing the scene with Evan Schiff, our editor, and then Dennis would usually come in, and we'd turn some shots over. We'd turn over a key scene, and then it's go time. Like we haven't even had time to. The lab doesn't even have the camera footage yet, and we're already working on it. And we did that in a couple ways. It's really just getting all your preparation done up front so that you're ready to go. Like, of course, we had an imaging pipeline and we had round-trip scans and everything before the first day of footage happened, so we were ready to scan that first day of footage when it happened. But the thing that we've been doing over the years, and we've really just kind of refined it through many projects with Guillermo, is we have all the footage just comes directly to Mr. X, so we have it there. It's at editorial and it goes to us. So then when we get an edit, we just have it. It's there, it's online, and then we do a lot of quick mock-ups on Avid Media. Usually there's something that comes out of the day that would really help Guillermo to have a quick mock-up that I can just do in the Avid, or we can do it quickly in Nuke or something, that he can have a mock-up for his next morning shoot the following day when Evan's done a V2 of the timeline or something. There's usually something we can do. But we generally just start working on the Avid Media right away, but luckily we had a great team and we could scan footage within 2 days and have the 4K scan online. And then once we had that, we were kind of doing everything in tandem in an approach to get to final. Like we would be doing a mock-up, but we would also be triggering the camera track so that we could upgrade the mock-up at some point. We know that takes time, but we could start doing something, get a DMP, do a concept frame. Let's comp the concept frame into the Avid Media real quick, get some feedback. Let's start the iterative cycle and build, which does two things. It gives temps into the movie that Guillermo can craft the story, but it also gives us a longer runway to get to final. Because as Dennis is saying, like we have to not be afraid to iterate and try and find the shot. So we have to also build ourselves the time to do that. So really, it was just in terms of doing mock-ups and temps, getting the Avid Media right away, and doing a quick version, not being afraid. Try something. The edit's just being cut. It's just started. There's no wrong answer. You can just, it gives you a little bit of play space. Get something into the cut and get some feedback and start that creative cycle with Guillermo. And then otherwise, speed obviously is a big important factor. So we were doing things like as soon as a shoot day wraps, we have our own on-set people capturing data, and they send it directly to us. So the next day, it's getting ingested into our shot grid, and it's just waiting at that point to get turned over. So we took every bit of data, every bit of height, every photo and everything. It just comes to us, and we just inventory it, catalog it, and then when the plate comes on the next day, everything just kind of links together, and everything's all there, and then we're ready to go.
Yeah, and there was kind of like it was a long shoot too. It was 120 days, and I'd be on set with Guillermo, and there was kind of like 3 levels of temps, wasn't there? There was the temps that we did literally the next day to see if something was going to work, and we had a rule that no temp should take a significant temp, even if it was a big, difficult shot. We would temp it within 2 weeks. So it was either next day for Guillermo's immediate feedback, and that usually related to something like, did we get it? Do we have to reshoot it? Is it going to work in the edit? Just a quick thing for Guillermo to understand, right? But then we had a rule like any shot, even a significant shot, a temp had to be done in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and if there was blue screen, get the blue screen out, because we
the
would have
blue
the blue
screen
screen out right away. Yeah.
It was good. We had the opportunity to previs a lot of the major CG environments, so that really helped us. Where you get those turnovers, you need to do a mock-up. We would use the Unreal Engine setup to do the render, get it out. Even if we didn't have tracks, sometimes we did tracks in comp. Honestly, there were situations where, like for the top of the tower as an example, everything's so far away, you could just map a sky onto a dome, So we just rendered the ultra-dynamic sky out of Unreal, slapped it on a dome. Our compers did some rough tracks and rough keys. But then those shots live in the edit for 2 months, and you can move on to something else, So it still goes a long way to getting that alignment on what a shot needs to be, and then giving you that space, like Brandon said, to, actually final the shot.
Yeah, because remember Guillermo always said, a shot has to fight to be in his movie. Yeah, a shot has to fight to be in his movie. So we would temp it out. It would kind of as an exploratory version, and he tried out for size. Brandon would cut it in. Guillermo would look at it. He tried out for size or work with Evan, the editor, and he'd kind of take it or leave it, make notes. He's like, yeah, I think so. Let's keep developing this. So it wasn't a situation where it was very exploratory. It was kind of really fun in terms of filmmaking that way. Stacey, you want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the most important thing is getting anything that looks, sort of not part of the story out, like ASAP. Blue screens are death. So, I mean, just really getting those out right away. And I do mean like the next day or a couple days later, because like right the next morning. So Evan would have a pre-call with Guillermo like 2 hours before call, and yes, every day. So even if the call was super early, Evan and Guillermo would be there, and I know because I shared a wall with Evan, so they would be blasting the temp tracks like really loud, and they would be in there like 2 hours before call, editing, and then by the time call happens the next day, that scene would be pretty much edited, like rough cutted, and then by noon or like lunch that day, he would be sitting with Dennis and doing turnovers. So it'd be like, okay, and then 2 days after that, Dennis, do you have a version of that shot? Like 2 days, maybe 3 later, it's like, how come I haven't seen anything?
I turned it over years ago. I'm like,
yeah.
I turned it over exactly 48 hours ago.
Yeah, and yeah, so it was very, very fast, very important to get anything that doesn't look like it could tell the story. So we had storytelling temps, we called them, and different, milestones for that, as Kate is in the audience, she can attest to. If it tells the story, we're like 80% of the way there. So it was really important just to have something that looked like a movie into the cut as early as possible, and then we have some breathing room to, like you say, move on to something else, like some of the bigger moments. But yeah, getting that stuff out as quickly as possible was super important.
Yeah, his process is pretty interesting. There wasn't really like an official audience preview. There were these sort of friends and family screenings, but Guillermo's process is he has a director's cohort, his buddies who see the film a lot. He shows them to me. They kind of workshop the edit a lot. It's like James Cameron and Steven Spielberg and
Alfonso
Cuarón, and so he wants temps in very quickly, so he kind of feels out the edit and then runs it by, kind of workshops the edit with these guys. It's part of his process. And then, so we have to be really fast.
Like every day is an audience preview.
I know, yeah, it's the Cuarón screening on Thursday.
Yeah, she's like, Steven's coming on Sunday. Where's the whatever it is? I'm like, we're like, sorry, who's Steven? Oh, Steven. Steven's coming. Steven Spielberg is coming. Did you know about the Steven screening? No. Did you know about? No. It was always another person, another screening every week.
Yeah. And I think a big challenge on this film was the large format. You touched on it, Io, the Era 65 large format Thalia lenses, everything at T4, which gives you a bit more depth of field, and it becomes a bit more of an immersive experience. Kind of matching that look, and then the pro-mist of it all, but then also the wide angle of it all.
24 mil.
24 mil all the time, right? And I guess that posed a lot of problems for you in wide angle. Like, do you want to speak to the worst case frozen battlefields dress and how much ice?
How many snow blankets did you have?
Oh God, here we go. So I mean, yeah.
But we have to preempt it because we went on this tech scout.
Yeah.
And actually, Stacey was pretty sage on this one. We go to this tech scout. We go to this field and
Markham Fairgrounds,
where we also shot Nightmare Alley. And Guillermo's like, okay, yeah, this is going to be the ice field. We're going to put our frozen horse here, and you're going to put the windmills there digitally, and we're going to be shooting this way. And so we've got like 180 degrees. And
we're never going to look this way.
We're never going to go look that way. Of course, we get there on the day after Jeff's been dressing, and of course we turn 180 degrees the other way.
This is day one, I think.
Yeah.
Day one, yeah.
That was the first shoot
day.
Yeah.
Day one in Ontario, Toronto.
But you had what was your pre-call on that?
It
2
was
o'clock in the morning?
I mean, I had a team pretty much running from that point 24/7 for the duration of the shoot.
Yeah.
So...
how much ice did you use?
Okay, so on a total, we did about 2.6 million pounds of block ice by hand, okay, with a team of 5 or 6 people. That was Dylan Hankinson, Jason Kenny, these workhorses. So they come in reefers. There's 55 reefers. There's 134 blocks per reefer. They're 350 pounds each.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing in the film business. They
Yeah.
call the refrigerated trucks that bring the ice reefers.
Yeah. Reefers. Yeah, exactly. We had 20 reefers of fish ice, which is shaved, basically martini ice. Snow blanket, there was 750,000 square feet of snow blanket. There was 800,000 square feet of snow sheet, 1,200 bales of snow. So, it went on and on. So that pre-call was, I think, 11 p.m. We shot in the morning.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the pre-call's 11 p.m. the night before.
Yeah.
Our shooting call would have been 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
And
yeah.
so he had an 8-hour pre-call
Yeah.
basically every day.
And then those guys stuck around until we were okay, which is basically wrap. So,
Yeah, and it
was good.
still wasn't enough.
Yeah, never is. But it was good. Like that team, they worked like dogs, and Guillermo was super happy. I drove away from Markham Fairgrounds that night thinking, oh dear God, because like in Ontario, when you want to shoot a snow movie, there's never snow, ever. Like this past
Well,
year.
that keeps you in business.
Exactly. Of course. I mean, I don't mind. But the labor part of that was probably the challenge. You know what I mean? I think in the whole movie, the challenge was the snow, with those 4 major locations.
Yeah. And then we get there on the shoot day, and first shot is the way we tech scouted it. Second shot is 180 degrees where there's no snow dressing.
Nope.
Towards grass and some telephone towers.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, but we didn't prep. Do you have 10,000 more volumes of snow?
Well, it was also the fires.
And the fires.
The fires, yeah.
Yeah.
So we shoot this way, we shoot that way, move the fire, then we shoot back this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we move the fires.
That should be in the reel, Oscar, and
Yeah.
just a little blue screen like this big
Yeah.
and just covering a little bit of the tower.
Yep.
We should touch on kind of the creation scene. And maybe the tower of it all. Should I just give it a go in terms of the tower, and then Ayo, maybe you can take over the creation, and we can all. I think the creation scene. Well, first of all, the tower itself was. So it never existed at full scale ever, right? Obviously, it was a 400-foot tower in the movie. It was inspired by the Wallace Monument in Stirling, Scotland, and Guillermo then wanted to turn it into kind of a water tower because water is an important theme. Sort of the giver of life. You'll notice that after the creature falls out of the chute into the water, he's kind of rebirthed almost. So water is really important. So that whole environment, we, based on Seacliff, which is a real location in Scotland, art department did the silhouette based on the Wallace Monument. We kind of put it together into Unreal, and then Guillermo can pick shots in Unreal Engine, literally find angles of the establishing shots in the film. And we did that, I feel like we did that months before we went to camera, right?
Yeah, are
Yeah.
you asking me?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, we had a crew that went to Seacliff, and they did all the drone photography. We did LiDAR. We did, countless, I don't even know how many images of Seacliff itself. And then, gave all of that to your team. And you guys did a lot of pre-visualization with that data and, obviously adding the tower and everything. So, yeah, that was months before.
Yeah, it was months. And we built this, there was a real location, Markham Fairgrounds, with a 1-to-1 scale where we built the first floor of the tower, kind of 20 feet of it, and we extended it. Then we had there was different phases of the tower, like when they first get there, the pre-renovated version of it, then they renovate it, they do the lab and all the, creation gizmos. And then we have to explode it, break it out, and then we have the aftermath version of the tower. So lots of versions of it.
And the miniatures.
And then we did miniatures to blow it up. We did these. Ayo, you want to speak about the miniature stuff?
Yeah.
And maybe speak about the creation, because I think the creation scene is a good sort of multidisciplinary departmental success story where every department was overlapping.
Yeah.
That's one of the things with Guillermo movies. I feel like there's not really departments. Everybody overlaps everything. He'll give Jeff notes for me, and he'll give me notes for Jeff, and it's just it's okay. Like everyone overlaps all the time, and that's great. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the creation sequence, I mean, it's a sort of key moment in the film. And again, we took the approach, I'm going to sound like I'm repeating myself, but it's the same philosophy of just trying to build visual effects that was grounded and made sense. Questions like, how does the lightning rod move? How do lightning strikes or arcing electricity expose on camera? How many frames are they on? How bright do they get? How much rain is there? All these different questions of just like, let's just build our CG extensions and our digital effects like you would in the real world. Let's find the reference, let's match it, and let's lean into that. So, our work in the creation sequence, again, like building from the beautiful lab set that was built and, the practical lightning rod, the white table with the creature on it, we're kind of building out from that and trying to enhance it from inside and outside. And really, for the inside part of the lab where we're dealing with arcing electricity and the lightning rod deployment, that was all about just like building a physical rig that did the right things, making materials that match and do the right things, and really like leaning into those effects and atmospherics to really tie it all together. For the exterior, what was really cool, those early previs days of like building out the Seacliff environment and tower and conforming all of that, it actually didn't change from the previous days to final. Like that kind of footprint survived all the way through the film, which was, I think, a testament to like working early, iterating quickly, and getting that alignment with your director. But again, it was really just leaning into the right techniques to sell those shots. I'll give a few examples. When Victor's at the top of the tower about to put the rod in, we see the water all around us, and we were simulating water, trying to get foam and all this interaction, and it was like super heavy sims. It was not working really well, but we realized that like you look at reference, you're so far away from the water, the foam is just barely moving. So we ended up taking a more procedural approach where you're using like an ocean spectrum. And we actually did DMPs of really intricate foam and then advected it on that procedural water, and it looked great. And we didn't have to simulate billions and billions of particles to get the look. And I think like approaches like that really helped us find our way. I'll share one more sort of discover we had talking about trying and failing was working the mountain ranges again. We were really struggling to get the scale of the mountains right, and what we ended up doing was stealing some GIS data, some height field data from just mountain range in the States, so publicly available stuff, and then sort of seaming that into our Seacliff environment as the distant mountains. And as soon as we did that, you had all those relationships, the foothills, the mountains, the peak-to-peak distances, the fog, the mist, everything started working. So again, I really feel like taking the approach to visual effects of just finding physical data, physical reference, and matching into it can help with the success of big sequences like that. You're not guessing, you're just kind of matching stuff you find.
Yeah, like even though it's a fantasy horror, gothic horror, we spent collectively probably thousands of hours on YouTube looking at real, like even in dailies sometimes we'd be like, oh, wait a minute, what does that actually look like? What does this actually look like? Like we spent thousands of hours, I am not exaggerating, all of us together looking at all the YouTube videos. Hey, I saw this, hey, and like passing it back and forth and like, look at this, oh, look at this, oh, wait a minute, it looks like that, and just like really grounding it all in reality, because the mind knows when you see something and it doesn't look real, even though your eyes think, oh yeah, it's a fantasy, like, you know that it's not, so grounding it as much as possible in reality was super important.
Yeah, and actually for the creation sequence, when Dr. Frankenstein Victor climbs up the spire of the tower, he's going to install the collector rods. We actually had Oscar really do that climb. He wore a stunt rig. We were on a tall stage there, booth. I think what was the height there? The top of that thing was like 30 feet or something, right? And he climbed right up to the top every time.
In real rain.
No?
Yeah. And then you blasted him with rain.
Yeah.
And
Warm
Guillermo
rain.
kept going more. Yeah, it had to be warm rain.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, it was because he got up there. He's a trooper. We did lots of takes of that, remember?
Yeah.
And he climbed up every time. Jeff would hit him with rain and wind, and Guillermo would be yelling, more.
Yeah,
And by the end of it, it was like gale force winds and
He never ever cared about being wet. Yeah. Never. Not
Yeah, he
once.
was a trooper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we shot that 100% blue screen with practical rain effects. and we put the world around him. And the lightning strikes, although Dan Lauschten gave us some interactive, the lightning strikes are mostly digital. And I think we did fail our way to success in the lightning strikes until we realized that, like, because when we started looking at the reference and started treating it more like a explosive energy discharge, that there's only really a couple of iconic frames that you need. I think we were overthinking it. We finally got that, then it started to look more photographic, you know? Yeah, do actors ever get mad at you for doing too much wind or rain in their faces?
Well, on this movie, no. Other movies, yes.
Yeah.
I remember Walter saying to Oscar, he's like, well, you're a dad, you can handle it. It's like, just go back up there, no problem. And he's like, yeah, I can do it, no problem.
Yeah.
Trooper.
Brandon, do you want to talk about some of the biggest challenges? I mean, Brandon did I think Brandon probably comped 200 shots himself. But in terms of the challenges, the biggest sequences of the biggest challenges, what do you think was one of the biggest challenges we had to overcome as a team?
Well, it's definitely just like the overall volume is the biggest challenge. It's there's no joke, 2 hours of visual effects, and we say 2 hours because the shot count was kind of around 1,000, but the average duration was so high that we added it didn't respect the fact that it was 2 hours, and that in itself makes things challenging because you can't get away with like a quick trick over a couple frames to get through a shot. Every shot had to be done well, and of course it's Guillermo, so the camera's moving. It's always going to be a complex camera move that we're changing relationships and scale change. It's going to be wide, so every shot's going to have something in the background where it couldn't be hid, and there's a light stand or something. We just constantly kept finding things. So it was kind of just the main challenge was that all the sequences combined were the largest effect. If we went back to the creation scene, one of the major challenges was going inside of the creature's body, which that ended up being a hybrid of a shot on set, a digital seam up through ILM, and then we ended up using real-life laparoscopic footage at one point because we didn't really, it just kind of felt like it was taking us out of the movie. It was the only shot in the movie where you're going inside someone's body, so it's going to stand out by itself. But it just didn't have that kind of physical nature to it all of a sudden. So we started, like what Stacey was saying, we started going through our YouTubes and we're finding all this inner
a lot of
body
surgery footage,
which is just, people poking around inside of a body. But if you watch it long enough and you know what you're looking for, you can kind of find a moment where you can like, okay, there's like some artistry there. There's a sense of a journey. There's a piece that we can use, and we got some examples together, and ILM did a great job with like kind of cohesively putting it together. But it was again another shot that kind of fired on all departments. We had real life physical completely digital moments in that shot, something shot on set, and something that was found and integrated. So it's always true. You always got to try to think outside the box in many areas, just so that you can get through the moment and be successful.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say it's the volume, and I agree it was the volume, but there was no throwaway shots either, right? Everything had to look like a painting. That was a direct mandate from Guillermo. It's again that every shot's got to fight to be in the movie, but we had a lot of volume. We just assumed at one point every shot we were going to touch every frame in the movie, and we almost did. There was this underlying thematic, these underlying kind of thematic pillars of our work. You know what I mean? Like color, for example, where I'm not sure if you guys picked it up if you've seen the movie. Like red is the blood, kind of like the blood of the mother, right? And Victor's trying to always kind of get back to, having the mother be proud of him or something. There's something there with Victor and the mother, but the mother is the blood. The red is the blood of the mother, and there's a lot of red in Victor, right? And then the desaturated blues, that's like the death. That's kind of like Harlander. The harbinger of bad tidings is Harlander, and he's blue, and Leopold is blue, the father, right? And then there's Elizabeth, and she's naturalistic, and so she's yellow and warm and white and right, innocent. And so everything we were doing had these thematic underpinnings. You know what I mean? It was really good because Guillermo would give you this kind of like this rule book, kind of like before you get in, and you'd have these thematic underpinnings for the scene, and it really helped, when we were in post trying to figure this out. You want to speak to any of that? Anybody?
Well, I mean, he has his own playbook in his mind, so, and sometimes he gets a little bit frustrated when, you know, his mind self doesn't translate to the outer world. So, but we all do our best, and, you know, you're obviously the genius at it, but some of us are, you know, and he'll be like, oh yeah, like that Tarkovsky, you know, like, he'll just have these obscure references, and he'll be like, you know, that time in the piano play or whatever, you know, whatever movie, Jules et Jim, you know, that Jules et Jim, you know, like he'll just come out with like the most random, you know, thematic, you know, cinematic references, and you'll be like quickly like Googling it on the side, hoping he doesn't notice. But like he has the entire cinematic library in his mind, like his literal mind, like he's seen every single movie that has ever existed, and he expects everybody else to also be like that. So, but yeah, the colors and everything else, and like even painters and, you know, even, you know, authors and everything else, he has it all like, you know, in his mind's eye, and we did our best to follow that constantly, and those thematic colors, I'd say that was almost like the easy part, because at least it's, you know, there and in the physical world. But yeah, there's really no instruction book when you're working with him. Anything could come from anywhere, but he does give you some ground rules, and the good thing is that he really knows how to answer every single question. So in a way, it's a gift. So even though it's hard, it's also a gift, because there's no question that he can't answer, which is, I'm learning.
Yeah, he'll answer it, and then he'll give you the thematic pillar behind it, and he'll give you the 4 movie references that he's thinking about, right? Yeah.
I think it's good though. Like this was my first project, kind of VFX supervising for Guillermo, and the biggest challenge for me was getting that alignment. Like what does he mean? Like you no, I mean,
what does he mean?
But he has his own way of communicating, his own language, and I think you kind of have to get on board. Dennis has worked with him for a long time, and you kind of have that natural, like, I get what you're saying kind of thing. I remember we had a shot where Elizabeth got shot, and the note was more peck and paw.
Peck and paw.
And peck and paw does squib hits. This is, I don't know, spaghetti westerns
Sam
from
Peckinpah,
60s. I don't know. I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
But
So out of nowhere, we start Googling Peckinpah and watching all these like super cheesy, like, you know, Western movies, and these guys getting like blown apart with these like super, you know, old school squibs. Massive squibs.
But then you get it. But then you calibrate with him, and you're like on the journey with him. You get it, and then the next time a shot like that comes up, you're like, okay, I know what he's going to be looking for. More peck and paw, right? Yeah.
More peck and paw. That's a half a peck and paw.
I wonder if I could jump in with a question for you, Dennis.
Yeah.
Just on the lecture corps, just that was another sequence where there's a lot of collaboration. We had some puppeteers, some really experienced guys come in. Maybe you want to talk about that experience?
Yeah, I mean, the lecture corps, this is Victor's lecture when he shows the concept of reanimating life, right? And Mike Hill designed this beautiful half corpse. It needed to animate to life, and then ultimately, when Victor pulls one of the pins, it needs to then die again, right? So, and the performance needed to be very, very subtle and pained. You know, it needed to be a pained performance. Guillermo was really specific about that. And so Mike Hill did kind of like two versions of the half corpse. One which was a beautiful, not animatable, just a beautiful silicon half corpse on the presentation plinth, and then he did a one with these animatable rig controls, and Guillermo brought these physical animators, you know, ex-Jim Henson animator guys. And they performed the hand for the ball catching, and they had facial rig controls and, you know, body controls, and it was a great performance. And then we went in and kind of replaced the digital brain to make it look replaced the silicon brain with our digital version to make it look a little bit more juicy, and the arm ended up being CG, right? Because the puppeteer's arm was blue screen, and they weren't really lining up. But we kind of roto-animated the performance, and I mean, but that was like just a great symphony with Guillermo conducting of, you know, great set design with Tamara, That set was great. Great creature design with Mike Hill. Great lighting with Dan. Great camera work. I mean, every department was just in sync there, and I think that sequence, one of my favorite sequences, when he catches the ball. Do you know what I'm talking about? And that was really good fun.
Beautiful performances as well.
Yeah.
Like they were really giving it. There are all those the puppeteers all covered in blue. I think that's probably in the making of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just what a masterclass in all of the facets of filmmaking that scene was. It took several days. That
Yeah,
was
it
like
took a lot.
5 days of shooting that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we like to make the blue screen suits one size too small, just to make fun of the puppeteers. Jeff, what else? What I wanted to maybe talk about the creature himself, and one of the seminal scenes is when he jumps out. The building's about to collapse, fire all around him. Holding cell. And we had, we had Jacob Elordi in full makeup, silicone makeup, which is very flammable, unfortunately.
And warm.
And gets pretty warm. Yeah. And we had to have, ultimately a lot of the fire becomes digital, but we had to have some real fire in there for reference and for lighting. Dan was using the fire to light. And you want to talk about that process of how you get fire close to an actor like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, the holding cell was really tight quarters, number one, low ceiling. Goes well before talking to Jacob Elordi about, what's your comfort level. But eventually we do talk about that with any cast. But, it all came down to the design. When we built that set, the entire set was completely fireproof. Every tile that was in there was fireproof. It was painted with something that was fireproof. And of course, with Dan's style of shooting and Guillermo with the crane everywhere, we always had one side of that set out. So we always had good ventilation. We always had a way to go if something went wrong. And then, of course, we had Jacob Elordi, who was often in makeup for 10, 12 hours per day, who's a trooper, right? So my on-set team, Connor Craig, Cam Dunlop, Simone Quinlan, Jacob Deathridge, were incredible at the trust side, so they got to know all the cast members, for all these crazy sequences, because we had rain, we had fire, we had snow, we had stuff going on everywhere.
Sometimes all at the same time.
Sometimes all at the same time, yeah. And so I think for that holding cell, I mean, it wasn't really that difficult. I mean, we had flame bars, sort of around the base, his plinth. He was chained up with, quick release shackles, and him being a trooper was really what put it all in place. So I mean,
he was great. I've seen actors with a fire. You can't put the fire that close. He was pretty.
No, he was great.
Pretty good about it.
Like most of the time, he would come to set in bare feet. That was, that set was not like a pristine floor like this. It was, there was leaves, there was dirt, there was broken tiles and rubble and stuff, and he would just waltz in. I think one time he got something stuck in his foot, and he just went, mate, and just pulled it out. So, that, I mean, it wasn't really super challenging, with him, but I think the build up to getting there was more, the process, with art department and construction, that was more so.
But that only works, and you say it was easy because, I mean, that's a sign of, I think, a really good prep.
Yeah.
Where we were very specific about where the fire had to be, and you fireproofed everything well in advance. And,
every one of those bars has a human attached to it as well. There's that as well. So it was good.
And then we shot a lot of fire reference as well, separately against black screen, which we used as some reference.
That was a different story.
We had the lights that were like super really close to him. We had the Dan's lights that were emulating fire, and then we would use your elements to reference it, your references and make digital fire the stuff that was like right around him.
Yeah, Dan would occasionally say, "Can we put that a little closer?" And I would say,
no.
Sure, no."
And one we only caught remember that one that we caught right at the very last minute? We're like, that is a light, remember? Shit.
I think there was a couple of those, but yeah.
Do you want to talk about the digital fire?
Yeah, it was obviously a huge portion of the film, and we ended up leaning into Axiom Solver. It's a GPU-based solver that runs in Houdini. That, working on a Guillermo project, you're going to be iterating, and there's going to be a lot of art direction, creative direction. So we swapped over to the solver to really speed up our iteration time, and it was really fantastic. It allowed our effects artists to turn around. I feel like I was seeing three rounds a day sometimes. The sims are so fast, even if they were just flip books, but it allowed us to just iterate, and that's the name of the game on a Guillermo show. We had good reference, we knew what we needed to match, but we also had some art directable explosions, and the explosion needed to get this far on this frame and things like that. And so having a solver that could allow us to iterate quickly was really really helpful. But I think in addition to the solver, we did a lot of work with the rendering as well. We actually the majority of the show was rendered in Redshift, but we actually jumped over to Mantra for some of the fire shots to get the pyro shader back, which really helped us just match the reference, because it was all about just matching what we saw. So wherever we struggled, we were not afraid to try different tools to find the right recipe.
I wanted to pivot a little bit into kind of ultimately talk about the creature himself, but just also all the animals. And thematically, another theme, Guillermo, one of the pillars of the film is that the animals bring the nature to the creature, and because he's of nature as well, or he's naturalistic, at least in the beginning, before the humans just kind of taint him. The idea is that the deer, the mice, he's kind of at one with them. Thematically, the animals bring nature to the creature. Stacy, do you want to sort of jump in? I mean, we had a lot of animals, and you want to just talk about the approach and the philosophy and.
Yeah, sure. Is this still on? I can't hear myself. Is this on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of animals, and including the mice, which were in the script. There was one mouse, singular, in the script, and then when we shot the mill, the interior, we were like, okay, well, what about that mouse? What's the deal with the mouse? Oh, no, no, there's no mouse anymore. That's gone. It's out of the script. Okay. And then, a year into post-production, he was like, yeah, I want to add 15 mice. And I was like, okay, yes, I knew that was going to come back. And of course, we didn't have a LiDAR scan of the fully practical interior of the mill and everything. But of course, ILM did most of the creatures, and they made it all work. But yeah, the animals were a big thing. So we had deer, the wolves. So in order to do photorealistic wolves, again, this is a massive haul in pre-production. So we sent the ILM team over to Calgary to meet the real wolves. And they spent 3 days there doing lots of video reference, photo reference. I mean, just and basically recreated the whole sequence, the whole wolf attack sequence. Spoilers, if anyone hasn't seen it, I don't know, but there's a wolf attack sequence there. Yes, so they had the wolves act out basically the whole thing. It took loads and loads of reference, and then we had the wolves in Toronto as well. And at Markham Fairgrounds, they built, or you're probably involved in that.
That was part of the first day shoot. We're never going to look towards the wolves.
Yeah, we're never going to look. So they had the wolf pens over by the park that we were never going to see, which of course we saw. And the wolves were there, and it was a recreation of the set to scale so that they could rehearse inside of that. So that all happened. I mean, it's a massive, massive undertaking to have something like wolves, which, by the way, and we got a masterclass in wolfology, if that's a word, and because wolves are not dogs. Dogs kind of were, sort of evolved artificially from wolves, but wolves are their own thing. They do not behave like dogs. They are not dogs.
They're not trainable.
They're not trainable, really. And so it was its own thing to have the wolves there. And of course, in the end, most of the wolves, except for like one shot, were digital. But having all of that reference, it was like a massive library of reference of the real wolves was invaluable.
Yeah. We shot
For
we shot the actor on main unit with Guillermo directing Jacob Elordi as if he was being attacked by a real wolf, and we had stunt performers holding stuffy heads. It gave us lighting reference, and they were in blue. Again, one size too small. and we shot the whole scene with stuffy wolves as reference, and then Andrew Simpson, who's a great wolf wrangler, was training real wolves. He had built a duplicate set at his ranch because the wolves need to be familiar spatially with what they're going to be doing. And they just go for treats, really. Not really trainable. They just go for treats. And they're on chains. You know it's a real wolf. I mean, these chains were this thick. Mm-hmm. And then we shot. He brought the wolves to Toronto, as Stacey said. And then on second unit, for a whole week, we shot second unit reference for every single shot that we had prevised and shot on main unit. Guillermo had edited it already. And then I was there with Andrew, and we were shooting a wolf shot for every shot we could, and then that became. Did we temp with those wolves, or did we use our post-viz wolves to temp? I can't remember.
We tried, but like I was saying, the shot count, the shot durations get so long that it was hard to sustain a wolf performance.
Yeah.
Through any amount of time. Like they could do one thing, but a transition into another moment was just never going to happen. Like do one thing and then hit your timing, hit your mark, and then do another, and then start doing another thing.
Yeah.
We just couldn't line them up. We tried it in earnest, but
So they became a library. So the all that second unit stuff became like a massive, invaluable library for ILM to do the digital, the digital wolves, which took obviously a really long time because of the fur sims and the musculature. I mean, talking about YouTube, I mean, we spent a lot of time looking at those wolf YouTube videos, just like all trying to understand, again, wolfology, even though we had all of the real wolf references that we collected on in Calgary and on set. It just wasn't enough to really tell that story. So they ended up using it mostly as a library. And we used the previs wolves, I think, for the temp edit for a long time, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And we had sheep, we had deer, we had
Yeah.
mice, we had pigeons, we had butterflies, we had ravens.
We had Matt Dale and Emilio Navarro and
who
Blue
I think is here.
Are they here? Anyone here?
Emilio's here.
Yeah, so they were in the film for a while in blue screen suits, acting as sheep and wolves, and a deer. Emilio was a deer for a while.
Yeah, Emilio
Yes.
was the deer.
Yeah.
So we should probably think about questions soon, but I wanted to just go to each of you and I mean, Brandon, you've worked with Guillermo since The Shape of Water, right?
Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak. So just what are your thoughts about Frankenstein, and what did you learn? What are your overall takeaways?
Well, there's always just like what I was saying about like trying to find good approaches and working on a photographic base. But it's whenever you come back to a Guillermo film, there's always that just reminder of artistry that you have to make things photographic, make things photoreal, but then you do have to have that time at the end to make something that's artistically pleasing and meaningful to an audience member. It's like another little layer on top, and like what we're saying, you have to understand themes and everything. But it's just always it's always nice that you get a chance to think that way, think about the art and think about the technology at the same time. So even though I've done a number of films, it's always just a nice reminder that you have that opportunity. It's technical art, but art kind of takes priority at the end of the day.
Every frame. Aya, what about you?
The biggest thing I enjoyed about Frankenstein, the takeaway, is just like collaboration. Like the number of shots that had massive set builds, special effects, miniatures, CG. We used every tool we had to try and tell the best story we could and make the most beautiful images we could. And I feel like you don't see that as much as maybe we should. I think it was cool to see so many departments collaborate on such a big project and have so much success.
Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to add to that. I mean, it's not every day you get to work with a world-class team. Yourself and all you guys here. Practical special effects is not always at the top of the list for some people, but it's great to work with you. And we talk all the time. Hey, what can you do? And Frankenstein working for Guillermo is keeps you on your toes. Challenge is our motto in special effects. There's not a problem we can't fix, usually. And I mean that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think the philosophy of trying to get something in camera always is just it's just a winning strategy with Guillermo. Yeah. Stacy?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, filmmaking is it's difficult. It's not the most difficult, but it's really people in a room, especially in the early days. There's some of us in a room, with I remember the ship was made of styrofoam for a while, not the real scale one, but we're all in this room together looking at a foam board version of the ship and the parking lot before the ship was built, and kind of looking at each other going like, how the fuck are we going to do this? So it's really just like people, artists, all in a room, making it, little by little, day by day, making it happen. And of course, that transfers over to visual effects because, in my view, we make at least half of the film, if not more. We could go on about this for a while, but
no, we should go there. I mean, what do you think? Because there's obviously a bit of a controversy relating specifically to visual effects on this movie, where it was downplayed, the amount of visual effects in the movie, and we were kind of embargoed. I mean, I was not all that offended because the visual effects were nicely integrated, and it didn't obviously look like there were a lot of visual effects, even though there were. So I took it as a bit of a compliment, although, the one thing that maybe I'd be offended about is that the visual effects artists, I feel, didn't get the credit that I think they deserved. And just to say it out loud, I mean, there was, Mr. X, we had 150 artists working on the show. We had ILM. Mr. X did about 925 shots or something like that. ILM did like 180 shots, something like that.
Yes, I don't have the exact figures in my mind, but yes, there was like 1,250 total, and Mr. X had the bulk of them, and ILM had the most of the creatures, and Ticket had some. Yeah.
Ticket had some shots, and those are all real people there. When we put the credits up, we had I think over 350 names, real humans, and that goes to the handcraftedness of it all. It's not like we're just pushing buttons and automatically doing things fully in generative AI. That's not the case. This is handcrafted visual effects, and every person, the person behind the visual effects is a real artist. What do you think about the fact that maybe it was a little bit minimized, our contributions, certainly around award season, it seems?
Me?
You're the producer.
Well, I mean, I created a whole podcast about this for this reason. Look, I mean, visual effects people, artists, I mean, the clue is in the name. Visual effects artists are artists. We're, and not just that, but, the production people and everybody in the visual effects world, we are artists. We are filmmakers. We are making the film. We are people with families, hopes, dreams, vision, and creativity, and all of that, and all of our life experiences, and all of our education, our day-to-day, we are pouring ourselves into making this film. Just like people painting the set, just like people designing the costumes, just like people laying the snow blankets down, just like down to like every single person on the film, including all, even the roto artists, everybody, we are the artists, and I think, it'd be really nice for everyone to recognize that.
Hear, hear. Anybody want to talk about AI?
No.
So Guillermo had a mandate that no generative AI on this film. We did use Roto Assist, and obviously we were using it for some
For
Python
temps,
for
yeah.
temps. It was interesting because Guillermo laid down the law about that, and we followed that. But I think that's changing. I'm wondering I'm wondering if Frankenstein is one of the last big movies that, that there was like absolutely zero generative AI in it. What do you think?
I
don't know. I'll say this. I mean, this is a big topic, but I will say that we're exploring, obviously, AI right now. And just today, I saw something really cool. We had a art department drawing of a set, and we wanted to reframe the angle. So a very creative artist that we have, an effects artist, brought it into Comfy UI, created a Gaussian splat, created a 3D camera, repositioned the camera in that space to find the angle that we wanted, and then in-painted the missing detail to get the kind of the holes in the splat, and then generated a mesh from that, and now he's like animating that mesh. So there's still a lot of artistry and craft in the process. There are tools, I mean, prompting and hitting a button and getting an image is, I think, very different than ways AI could be used. So it's all new for me. We're all trying stuff. I don't really have a firm opinion other than like I see potential for like really creative shot making in the right way, but I also see potential for just like kind of mindless content generation, cat videos. Yeah, maybe don't bring anything forward. So yeah, that's kind of how I see it.
All right, just don't lead with that next time you see Guillermo.
Yeah.
Well, it's like part of the pipeline. It's becoming, even Nuke has their AI plugin now, right? I mean, it's becoming part of the pipeline, I think, part of the mainstream pipeline.
Yeah, like empowering artists to have better tools has always been the right response and the right answer. And it's like, I'll just repeat myself. It keeps room for artistry. Mm-hmm. If it makes it easier for the artist to be artistic, then it's a great tool. But
Well, let me ask you this, like from someone standing outside, practical world, will AI eliminate jobs?
Yes. My microphone stopped working. Yes is the answer.
Is there a percentage, do you think?
Well, I mean...
Too early?
I don't know. Is anyone else out there that can answer this? But
I'm curious.
30%, somebody said.
Wow.
200% more job creation, 30% reduction. Okay.
Wow.
There's a microphone there. I think people should start lining up and asking us questions. Hey, Chris. Chris McLean. I had the feeling you'd be here.
Why don't you go to the mic, Chris? We can start our Q&A.
But no, I mean, there's some really cool things about it. Really cool things about AI, and yeah, I mean, I've started using it a little bit just with some Excel stuff because I don't feel like typing out a formula that's this long. I'd rather just like plug it in, and that's not taking my job away. It's just making me a little bit more efficient. 30% more efficient, Chris.
No,
Hey, Chris McLean, everybody.
Hi, everybody. We'll lose 30%, then we'll gain 200% more because it always happens.
Are you in your work? I know you're, a supervisor in your own right. Are you planning to employ AI in your work?
I've tried. It sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, no. I mean, it's starting to get better, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
No.
So it's like part of a tool, like as part of the toolkit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with
Yes.
Chris. The images, man, we're getting into it here. The images,
Visual
I'm
Effects
not,
Society.
Yeah. I'm not so far like super stunned with any images I've seen, but yeah, like those like Gaussian splat tools, depth, point cloud,
I mean,
assistive tools are quite
for scanning. Like on Foundation, we used a lot of Gaussian splats as opposed to photogrammetry for our 4D stuff, like our moving images. But Gaussian splats, 100%. But we should start questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a question, Chris?
I
or?
have one for each of you, if you don't mind.
Jeez.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard.
Brandon, did you and Evan fight at all when you were editing? Did you have anything that you thought was better that you edited that?
No, Evan's amazing. And I really appreciated having Evan Schiff on the project because he used to be a visual effects editor.
Of
So
course, yeah.
easily the best handoff I've ever had. It was a silver platter for me, and he's fantastic. So no, we didn't fight. We just agreed a lot. But
Aggressively or?
well, more so that like we just had a great shorthand because we both just kind of understood exactly what we were trying to do.
Right.
We didn't have any confusion really ever. It was just like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Yep, in out, in out. It was very efficient, and he appreciated and knew what I was trying to do. So with him, it was easy.
I think he's being humble. I think Brandon pitched and cut some pretty major stuff.
Okay.
And anyway, my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, Evan is a dream, I have to say, but also, I mean, you can't complain about Brandon's work. It's impossible. I tried.
I want to ask Brandon this, but I'll ask Io, Stacy, and Dennis this. Is Brandon still the best visual effects editor, or is there somebody coming up behind him?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Easy question.
Easily the best.
Okay, so Io, a question for you. We did a lot of ice on Crimson Peak. We did a lot of simulation on Crimson Peak. Has it gotten easier?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think in terms of like snow simulation, like Vellum is
Yep.
much better solver than we had when we did Crimson Peak. And everything else is just faster compute, better iteration time, better initial setups in Houdini. So I think we got there a lot faster. It didn't feel like those long like R&D run-ups where you're just trying to find a baseline. I feel like we were pretty quick to like something decent, and then we were just crafting it.
Yeah. Are you happy with the results in both, or are you more happy with Frankenstein?
Yeah, I'm happy with the results in both. We used the tools we had at the time, right? We kind of found our way. I just think with the way Houdini's evolved and the tools we have now, we just get there faster. We can get more rounds in to craft it, but no, happy with both, yeah.
Okay, cool. Stacy, was there a sequence that cost more than you thought it would in Frankenstein?
Well, I mean, a full sequence of CG wolves attacking an actor, and then, you know, CG wolves attacking CG sheep. Yeah, I mean, that was probably more expensive than I thought. Yes.
Okay.
But overall, I have to say, we did a pretty good job. All of us, including Caitlin, who's here in the audience, just did a really good job of keeping everything as sane as possible. So I don't think anything was like over budget, but there were some asks near the end that needed to be asked. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, did Jeff get involved at all with that, or was it all like? Did he help you with any practical elements or anything like that?
Jeff, yeah. Jeff was there
Every day.
every day. Yeah. I mean,
And
Jeff
we did do like 3 full days of element shooting.
Yeah.
And we put that stuff to use.
Oh my gosh, we're
Yeah.
like, hey Jeff, like the elements list are always ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hey, can you burn a sheet of weird plywood covered in this strange
Goo.
substance?
Yeah.
Like, can you set this on fire?
How
Oh, hey,
much-
can you set that
How
on
much
fire?
blood did
Yeah.
we have on the studio floor?
Oh, remember the blood cannon? Hey, Jeff, how many blood cannons do you have? Can you just like do this blood cannon? Can you do a softer blood cannon?
Yeah.
I mean, just
A little
this-
bit more to the left,
Yeah.
some more to the right.
Yeah, the elements are just hilarious. I
Yeah.
mean, anyway.
And we blew up a sonotube in the parking lot to simulate the
Yeah.
explosion.
Yeah, everybody get inside.
More boom.
Yes. Yeah.
I've been told to move along, so
Okay, well.
thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you for coming, Chris.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Ryan.
Hello.
Jeff, we never met, but I got a write-in question from one of your colleagues, Connor.
Okay.
who I had the pleasure of working with on The Boy in the Iron Box.
Of course.
He wants to know why you didn't use his big blood cannon.
Oh, God.
More
really?
about the blood cannon.
Oh, jeez. It was proprietary to Connor, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen tests. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's
but,
pretty amazing. Yeah.
but also, that's my joke question. But my real question is, I had the pleasure to work on set on Guillermo's next film. It's produced by him. A lot of the same Frankenstein team rolled over for that. That was my first experience working on set, which is incredibly invaluable to the visual effects learning experience. So if anyone gets the opportunity to do that, I highly recommend it. For yourself, I know what I take from each project to bring in to the next one as a learning experience that I want to do differently on the next one. I can't imagine the mountain of challenges that you would have had on this project. What's something that you learned that was like, okay, on the next one, I'm doing it that way, so that it happens differently or better, or maybe it went exactly how you expected. I'm not sure, but that's never how it usually goes in my experience. But
I couldn't even really answer that. I mean, pretty much everything on this movie was, well, it wasn't all new. I mean, we did snow, multiple movies. We did fire, multiple movies. We did rain in multiple movies. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
maybe
really.
it's the scale and the volume similar to the visual effects aspect, where it's like, I'm sure we've all done mountains or a wound or a environment, but at the scale and the level and the detail that Guillermo demands, it's like times it by 100 kind of.
I think at the very beginning of this movie, Guillermo, he had me come to his office and he said, "Jeff, I'm very happy that you're going to join me on set." And I'm like, "Well, I'm the supervisor. I got to be in the shop and I got to be, everywhere." And he's like, "Thank you for joining me on set." So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I enjoy being on set, but I think this time around, if there's another movie, I think I'd be more assertive to say that just trust me with my on-set team, which is Connor, right? Connor's an amazing guy, and I think by the end of that movie, Guillermo would call out to Connor, right? So that was pretty good, because I said to Connor at the very beginning of the movie, I said, "Don't worry, by the end of the movie, Guillermo's going to call out to you." And that's exactly what happened. So I think the next time around, if we get there, hopefully I'll be able to be sort of day-to-day operations, dropping in on set, being able to be in the shops, being able to be part of the rigging department, spending more time with Dennis, the guys, and just keep, a part of the day-to-day operations.
Nice, thanks.
Thanks.
Great job.
Yep.
Thanks, Ryan.
Hello. What was your favorite sequence to work on during the film?
I mean, for me, it's got to be either the assembly sequence where we had all the body parts strewn about the lab, lots of blood and gore everywhere, and it was just fun to be on set. But probably the creation sequence in terms of the visual effects craft, and it was just so important, and culminating in the creature in the crucifixion pose and the spark of life shot, and every single shot was for about 10 minutes during that whole creation scene. Every single shot was a visual effect, and so that's just fundamental storytelling. And when I first spoke to Guillermo about it, we were talking about Frankenstein and Nightmare Alley. So I went back and watched the 1931 version of the John Whale, Boris Karloff version, and I asked Guillermo, "What are we going to do about the creation sequence?" He's like, "It's going to be the most epic fucking sequence ever." I'm like, "Okay, so."
Great. How do we do that?
But we got there. I mean, that iconic imagery with the crucifixion table at the end and the spark of life, to me, was just pure Guillermo, and all the silhouette, the color palette, the production design, Jeff's work, our work, costumes, hair, makeup, wardrobe, lighting, every department was just totally in sync. And we talked a lot about that sequence in prep. I mean, we prepped that sequence for months and months and months, and lots of storyboards and previs as well. And I think it delivered, and so I think that's easily my favorite.
I'll say the ending when the ship actually has to move, because we were talking about how the ship rotated so many degrees and all, but it was locked in. But then at the end, he's got to free it. So for a certain amount of time, it had to actually traverse, and it was a locked-in thing. And Dennis and the team had a crazy idea that we'll just move the camera and let the boat stay static. And everyone kind of thought it was crazy, but I was like, that's going to work. That's totally going to work, and it totally did, because it's still the real frozen-in ship, but just move the camera, block off the camera, and let the camera motion be the boat motion. It sounds like it's never going to work, but it totally
Relativity.
worked. Totally worked. Yeah.
For me, the tower destruction sequence, I really enjoyed that little small sequence where Victor gets blown away from the tower and his leg gets all mangled. It was just a fun process, fun artists. It was just cool and gross and more blood, more spurt. It was just crazy. But yeah, I think that was my favorite.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't really have a favorite sequence, but I have a favorite shot, or I have two favorite ones. But one of them is the creature waking up after, he's come down the chute, and he wakes up, after the destruction and everything, and he's like born again. And to me, it was from the beginning and always will be the best shot in the movie because it's so poetic, not to get too weird about it, but, and the birds we added digitally at ILM and the sound cues, and he just looks up and he sees life for the first time because he's only ever known the tower and the cells and everything. And it's just like a whole new world to him, like all in one shot. I thought, wow, it was just so beautiful.
I would say for me, the storming of the ship, the creature basically mowing his way through the sailors. It was incredible to be part of that. The stunt team, there was, I think, 30 guys, and they were on wires. It was a symphony, between the grips, the electrics, the stunt team, our team, everybody who was involved. It was like this mad symphony of, Guillermo conducting, between the roto telehandlers moving around from one side to the other side, the stunt guys with torches, people flying through fire, you know what I mean? Because it was like, this thing that Guillermo said, I want everything practical. We actually did fling a guy through a fire. We did fling people over top of the gum wall. All that stuff that you saw was real. Yeah.
With digital enhancement.
With digital enhancement, of course. Yes, of course. Sorry. Get your place.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm a little too short for this, but hi. My question to you, Stacy, as the visual effects producer for this project, what was one key decision you made during pre-production that impacted the entire production?
Well, early on, I bought a little Zen garden, and I put it in my office, and it actually it actually came in really handy because people would come in, like even RJ, yes, it had like a little mini rake and sand and some stones and stuff, and I'm actually not joking. This came in really handy, and it actually became like a bit of a focal point, and it helped me stay grounded and just remember, again, like I was saying earlier, the bigger picture. And I think, and my kids also, just coming home at the end of the day and just understanding the bigger picture and keeping super, super grounded, like we were talking about with the film, and keeping everything grounded in reality. So that at the end of the day, you always have a true north, and you always understand like where you're going and what is most important, so that you don't like get lost in the weeds. So you have like a big budget, like 1,000, more than 1,000 shots, and 100 or more days of shooting, and like how do you like overcome it all? And again, like I was saying earlier, it's day by day, but also just always seeing everything from a 10,000 foot view is the most important.
I also heard that you had one of the days of the shoot was about 24 hours. Was that true? Or did it almost come close to that?
That's a short day.
24 hours. I don't think we had like you mean like filming time? No.
Yes.
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Just the snow, guys.
But yeah, maybe you guys. Yeah, no.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hi there. I wanted to ask if, in terms of scene assembly, look div, and lighting, if Solaris was what you guys were using, and also how much of USD was a part of that.
Yeah, good question. We only used Solaris for the ravens and the pigeons to access like a feather procedural, but everything else was like SOP based. We have since moved over to a USD pipeline, full Solaris, full USD, but no, the show was done with like Alembic and yeah, SOPs, Redshift, kind of old school. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Hi. Yeah, I was just wondering, 1,200 shots, that's a lot of shots. I was wondering, you guys are probably in a unique position from a bidding perspective. If somebody could speak on how does that go about being distributed? Like, what goes to X, and then what kind of partners and what kind of trust and relationship do you need? And how do you go looking for someone to pick up the other stuff? And kind of ILM seems to be a really, they did some amazing work. How did you pick that collaborator there?
I mean, we knew we had to have like really quick turnarounds with Guillermo, and we knew that most of the film was going to be visual effects. And because of the way Guillermo likes to work, we wanted to build an in-house team that would be like the temping team. And so we started from there first. And then it kind of naturally, as prep started to happen, we started to realize the scale of the project, the real scale of the project. We realized that Mr. X couldn't do it all, even though in the last couple of movies, Mr. X had done all the visual effects for his movies as one company, but it was too big. It was just too big, And so, and then Guillermo said, "Why don't we look at ILM?" He had a really good relationship with them on Pacific Rim, excuse me, and so we said, okay, why don't we do the wolves and the deer mainly, and the mice with ILM, and Mr. X can focus on basically everything else. And it seemed to be a natural, fit. It was good. And then Ticket came in and helped us with some 50 shots. That was a great help as well. So there wasn't a big design other than it was just too big for one company to do. But we still wanted to retain a line share at Mr. X just because we needed those quick turnarounds. And ILM is great, but they maybe weren't, they had more of a long-term project. And Mr. X was doing, a lot of high-end shots, but just the volume as well.
And we tried to break that out on an asset level, but we ended up just sharing everything because everything gets kind of combined, especially in a Guillermo movie. You can't just segment something completely. We had to work together with them and share things back and forth, and because evidently it's one element that they were working on is going to end up in one of our shots, and vice versa.
And shots would go back and forth. Like, we didn't want to try and do this as a design, and maybe Stacy can speak to this as well, but the idea was to try and not do too many handovers between the companies, but we set it up so that naming conventions and all the protocols were equal, so that nuke scripts go back and forth. And we had lots of shots where ILM would start and Mr. X would finish, or vice versa.
Yeah, there's the one shot where there's ILM Ravens and a Mr. X Raven just hanging out together.
Yeah.
That's how it shakes down.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Can I get one more quick one in there? I found it fascinating, just like the AR stuff, and you were talking about kind of the beginning of production. I was wondering if you guys ever get any surprises at the end after you're done with any shots, like in the DI, for instance, if there's anything that maybe it's still being communicated between Mr. X once the shots go off to color, or if you get surprises where you watch some of your final shots and you go, oh my God, that's blue all of a sudden.
No surprises, because we're part of the process. We're sitting in the DI the whole time. Me and Stacy were there. We're coloring the film, and the DP and me and Guillermo and Stacy, and the color's starting to happen. If we can't get there, we'll do it. I'd rather do a note on a visual effects than have the colors break a shot. And early on in the process, Dan was like, I want mats for everything, meaning, and I was like, no, let's just look at it in the DI, and if you start moving it around or you don't have enough latitude, we'll do it as a note, a creative note on the shot. So no, it's a full collaboration, and it's the only way to do visual effects is being in the DI. You can't have someone go rogue on your shots.
I mean, there is a moment where you go from, there is a transition moment where you go from the dailies LUT to the color, the final color look. And yes, that is always shocking, every project. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute, because you're used to looking, your brain is wired to see it a certain way. And, early on, we were like, okay, when can we get into the DI? When can we, it's super, super important because we know that moment's coming. So we always try to get in as early as possible. We did sessions with ILM as early as possible in the DI. We did sessions with Hernhill Mr. X as early as possible. And because we know how important that is, because we know that shock value is coming, and then we just recalibrate our brains and go in.
We actually redid the fire shots after we were in the DI for a session because the fire shots were clipping too much or didn't have the exact look, so we went back in, recalibrated them, recomped them, and re-put them out to the DI. So it was a good cycle.
We never wait till the end because that's an amateur move.
Yeah.
And in the end game, we had the graded version of the film conform so we could keep checking it as we went. Like once it was kind of decided on, we had it.
Yeah, we got a first pass grade
Yeah.
in house.
So it was, yes, we're still working under the dailies LUTs, but we would be like, okay, looks like to dress the note. We check the grade. Can we match it a little bit? Push it around, try to get it in that zone. Yeah, that's going to work. Send it over.
Yeah, we recalibrate the dailies based on that. But also, you have to go into the lab. You have to go into the finishing house pretty early as you can. Once you start getting true finals, because it's a different resolution. Like you're only really going to see the film as it's going to be, displayed to an audience in that room. So. It's really important to get in there as early as possible, and it is a conversation that happens where it's like, okay, we need this many sessions. Like, what? You need what? It's like, no, we need to get in. But of course, we had Julie on our side, and Julie is like, whatever you guys need, because
Post supervisor, she's amazing. Yeah.
Julie Lawrence. Yeah. Shout out to Julie.
Yeah.
Julie here? No.
Thank you.
Hi. What was the process of working with the DP, and were there any shots that were captured that made it harder for post?
I mean, I'll take a crack at that. So Dan Lauschten, I think, is a mastermind, a master photographer, cinematographer. He's a genius. He had a real vision for this. I mean, Guillermo had the ultimate vision, but Dan with the color palette, the depth of field, the T4 depth of field, which is pretty rare. Not a lot of DPs will want to do that. The whole film, T4, or even more. And the pro mist of it all, it had a real look. And he was just a real collaborator. We did a lot of testing early on. It was a kind of a unique setup with this Alexa 65 and with these Thalia lenses and with this Pro Mist and everything on a 24 mil and everything, mostly everything on a crane. One of the things that came up is Dan's like, listen, I'm 24 mil on a large format sensor. I'm seeing everything, meaning he had to put lights in the shot a lot of the time. So I would say to answer your question, did anything make it harder? I think it all was hard because there was a lot of stuff in the shot a lot. I mean, it was beautiful composition, but we had a lot of gear in the shot a lot of the time just because there was nowhere else to put it on such wide-angle lenses. Right. No, but it was a great collaboration, but it was a new level for us in terms of, I would say, like image fidelity and the matching the pro mist of it all and matching the fill. It's a movie where even though the silhouettes were so important, part of the experience that Guillermo wanted and Dan was going for as well is that this depth of field thing where it's very much more immersive. So that was interesting to match into. We did shoot grids and gray charts and lens grids and lots of reference to capture the essence of the Pro Mist filter in the photography. That helped us. Do you want to add anything to that, Ayo?
Yeah, I mean, no, you said it. I mean, yeah, we had a lot of reference for matching the optical properties of the photography, and nothing comes to mind as like other than there was just a lot of stuff to clean up because the frame was wide and, you know, lights got into shots and rigging ended up in some places. But creatively, I mean, I wouldn't shoot it differently. It was just what it was, you know. It was beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Pretty good. How was the workflow working with like Unreal Engine? Did it like speed up some processes?
Yeah,
Like procedurally, I would assume.
it did. I mean, we used it for previs at the
Yeah.
beginning of the production. So it allowed us to go super fast. We could kit bash things. We could use the marketplace. We just went at the speed of light kind of thing. So it was great. It was a great experience. There definitely like is a wall where there's, you know, using a path tracer is you just feel the difference in terms of photorealism. But we didn't try to do that. We were trying to tell stories and fill the edit and let Guillermo explore setups and things like that. So it was really a great way to just freeform experiment.
We gave him a walking tour of the tower before we built or shot the tower. He was picking shots. I don't think we could have done that without Unreal Engine. So the interactivity of it, he quite enjoyed that too, kind of finding shots. We had these shots called the Seinfeld shots, which are the establishers.
Yeah.
He's like, let's pick some shots, some angles on the Seinfelds. We did all that in Unreal.
Time of day lighting studies and things like that. Yeah, we did a lot.
You can do it on the fly and everything because you got the skylight. And
Exactly. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's a great pre-production tool and a temp tool. Obviously, not a final picture tool.
Yes, like you guys didn't use it for virtual production at all.
No, there's no virtual production.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, this is tall.
It tilts down. You can tilt it down. I'm short too.
Oh, perfect. I wrote mine down. In a leadership aspect or in a like team aspect, was there any point in the whole production where you guys had a burnout moment? Just asking for the artists out there, including myself, who are like currently in the middle of their own projects, whether personal solo projects or group projects.
I mean, for me, the length of the shoot was really hard, and you know, being there like usually on a pre-call to go edit with Guillermo or something, or at least blocking. You know, you're there at least an hour before crew call, and you're on a 12 or 13-hour day, and then going home and looking at shots, and it ends up being a 15-hour day, and you do it for, you know, 120 days of filming, so over 6 months. So for me, it was by the end of that, you could put a fork in me. Yeah. So it was just a lot. I don't know about you guys in terms of the post-production feel, or I mean, you probably had the similar thing in shooting.
I think I slept for 3 months. You know, they went to the UK and I was like, I don't care. Pretty much, that's it.
I had 2 moments where I got a bit fatigued for sure, but
Only 2?
Yeah. I don't know. I was talking to Alan, our comp soup. There's a few moments where it feels like there's so much work to do. It's just so overwhelming. You're like, man, we're never gonna finish this. It's just super overwhelming. But you just show up, put one foot in front of the other, keep going, and then you kind of get the momentum back, and then you're rolling again, and then maybe it happens again. But you just keep going, you know?
Thank you. For my second question, you mentioned that you had your animation team, and for like young animators out there, what do you as supervisors and producers look for in terms of the work of an individual animator? Like when they submit like a work that you assign them to do something, they give it back. What do you look for?
For me, initiative. I like when someone brings their ideas to the table. Like if we spot a shot together and, you know, I don't know, character needs to run down the aisle or something, and you have a cool idea where they knock a chair over or something, like try it. Like we don't want, like don't be a robot, like be creative, like use your voice. I think that's always good. I love working with people who bring fresh ideas, and just try it, you know, like just see, because sometimes those like little accidents or those ideas can make a shot that much better. So I think initiative and speak up with your creativity.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your answers.
Del Toro has made many films over the years, and you guys managed to get stuck. Thank you. Get stuck on Frankenstein. Were there any films prior to Frankenstein that you wish you had worked on, such as something like Pan's Labyrinth or even Shape of Water?
Well, we did work on Shape of Water, and Crimson Peak, and Nightmare Alley, and I'm missing a couple. But yes, I actually worked with Guillermo since Mimic, believe it or not. I was a scanning technician in 1997 on a film called Mimic. So, no, I mean, he's been, everything he does is just a masterwork. So for me, it's, it's been a really great experience. Kind of every day's a master class with him on set. Every day's a master class with him in post-production. Like every time you talk with him, you learn something new. So it's been sort of the filmmaking experience of my career to be working with him for sure. I'm not sure what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, working with Guillermo, you remember that you're a filmmaker, right? There's tons of people that you'll run into that are just there for the paycheck, but Guillermo reminds you that what he does is filmmaking, and it's what I started this job for because I enjoy that. And he will remind you very quickly if you're not a filmmaker and not ready.
Yes, that's true.
Very quickly.
I worked with him on The Strain, which was about 10 years ago. Dennis brought me onto The Strain. I did like 1.5 seasons, and then I had a bunch of children, and so this was my, sort of reintroduction to Guillermo. And yeah, I can, like it is a master class. Just every single day, he says something new, and you're like, oh wow, no one on earth would say that but him. It's a dream, and it's also difficult at times because you're dealing with somebody who, like, there's no one above him. I mean, maybe Jim Cameron, who he sees as a mentor, but I mean, and maybe Spielberg. I mean, those are two people. That's it, So yeah, it's quite something. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
No, honestly, I don't have anything to add. I think they've said it all. Actually, I do have something to add. His work rate is super impressive too. I think people think like, oh, talented guy, but like after, like the dude was editing all the time. Like the edit was constantly changing. He's constantly refining the film.
He doesn't sleep.
His work rate is really impressive.
He's not afraid to do the work either,
Yeah.
and he'll work as hard as anybody else and harder. So you do got to appreciate that, and then it does encourage you to meet the moment and do it as well.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Nightmare Alley, when we shot that, I think he was editing. He would go home and edit Peter Pan.
Yeah.
So he really does not sleep.
Yeah.
And then you get like an all caps text or email in the middle of the night, and you're like, I was sleeping and I just saw him and he's texting, and what? Like, why? When does he sleep? Does he sleep? Yes.
Amazing. Thank you.
Hi, I just want to know that if you use any procedure modeling or texturing to create assets in your workflow.
Yeah, we did. We did a lot of procedural modeling. We call it the vortex, but the lab where the creature is created on the kind of the white table, those extensions, we procedurally model those tiles to lay them out, and procedurally textured them in Mari, kind of building graphs that kind of did weathering and stuff in the right places. The Arctic environment was procedurally generated, so we kind of built a kit of different features and then scattered them and wrote shading tools to kind of blend the different features together. So yeah, there was a lot of procedural modeling and texturing to just make things efficient. And then when things got really hero and we got close, that's when we really would take the time to hand paint and get the detail where it was needed.
Thank you guys. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
You're not so bad yourself.
Hello, everyone. I finally get to ask this question. I have this question since Pinocchio, and I never understood how to answer this. So I think Dennis or Stacy might be more helpful on this one. What is the first thing you account for when you discuss a film with Guillermo? As someone who has been a part of it, I know it's a creative roller coaster and everything is a little uncertain. So when things are not executed, what is the first thing you account for, and how do you plan for something so massive and something so uncertain, like how your time is going to be managed, how your resources is going to be managed, how your finances are going to be managed? Is there a plan to actually execute?
I mean, the thing about it, when the process starts, what you're going to get from Guillermo is a full brief and a rebrief, and he keeps hitting the main things he cares about over and over and over again. It's not by accident, it's very deliberate. So like you read the screenplay, and then he gathers everybody up, and he walks you through and gives you the intent of the scene. Every scene has an intent. This is what we're trying to do with this scene. This is important. This is we can R&D this later. And the themes are very important. So you have to take that all in, and those become the guiding principles for organizing the work. And so that's how it starts for me. And then day by day, you just have to do the work. I think Io said you just kind of show up one foot forward, and there's just no retreat, right? And so there is a lot of, I would say, pressure to turn things around quickly, whether it's a budget or a schedule, a proposal for a shoot, and then we had a pretty strong producer. Hey, how are we going to shoot that? And what is that going to cost, or whatever? And you'd have to have these real-time answers, which was challenging. So, but if you go back to those first principles, the Guillermo briefs, that's your guiding light, right? And then the rest is just a lot of hard work. I'll yield the floor to Stacy for her thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, the script is really where you start with any project. So, with Guillermo, it's different because you have the script and you have Guillermo, who is just telling you every single thing. Sometimes you just have the script and a filmmaker who doesn't know what the fuck they want. Sorry, I don't know if this is G-rated or not, but it isn't anymore. So you have your framework right there just by talking to him. There's no version of anything where you're like, hey, Guillermo, what about this? And he's like, I don't know. It doesn't happen. It's never happened. So he just knows. And that is, I don't know if anyone really, I'm sure everybody in the room actually knows this, but that is super rare. So when you're working with him, you have the script, which is the blueprint, and then you have the mind of him, and he'll just tell you. And then you go about and at least budget-wise anyway, and you put everything in the script into an Excel spreadsheet and really start mapping it out budget-wise. And laying, and then you send out for bids and everything else, and it's a framework that gets populated over time. And again, those we had you had longer pre-production than me, but I had at least 6 months of pre-production, and you're in meetings every single day, a lot of meetings, including parking lot meetings where you're looking at literally an empty parking lot, and he'll just tell you what the film is going to look like in his mind, and you write every single thing down, and you put everything into that spreadsheet, and then you build it day by day by day by day by day, over and over and over every single day for 2 years, and then you have a film. Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. I really loved it. I love your execution for these kinds of films, and I want to say, Dennis, I've seen a lot of films that you've done with him. I am pretty sure everyone came with a new challenge, and you guys are doing it really well. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Jeff. You had mentioned that there's usually not any challenges that can't be solved. What were some of the challenges you had faced on this film, and are they different from each film you work on, or do they kind of differ?
Oh, man. So challenges. I mean, there were many challenges. Crew was a challenge. Having enough crew was always a huge challenge. You know, we start a show, we have a core crew. This show, we were made up of a crew that came from Vancouver. I had a co-supervisor who brought a crew, you know, because the gimbal was a huge thing. I had a crew that worked in the shop day to day. I had a crew that worked in the rigging department, so every single set had its own sort of job manager. You know, Victor's apartment, the lab, the holding cells, they all had leads. And then when the job load is so great, you'd sometimes run out of crew, and you're left with no crew, which means that we work around the clock. The other challenge, I guess, would be snow. Snow was a huge thing. You know, we shot at the mill. Anybody who's ever shot at Kleinberg Studios knows that it's way out in the middle of nowhere. And when you have to put down 100 or 200,000 square feet of snow in the forest, and you can't get there with machines, you know, you have to basically lay out giant roads and, you know, pre-chip snow. And I'm talking like, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds of snow that's laid by hand, and you can't trample it. So that's a challenge. It just, you know,
and then the Guillermo of it all, just reading the high quality of it all. There's no half-assed effort.
No, it's 110% all the time. You know, so you know that's definitely. That's definitely a big part of it. But we said at the beginning of this, you know, Guillermo shoots here because the crews here are amazing. You know, we had an amazing locations team, you know, who showed Guillermo the most difficult places to shoot at all the time. But we made it work, you know. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, I think, you know, the snow part of it was the biggest challenge for me. The crew part of it was another massive challenge for me. And then, of course, you know, managing Guillermo's expectation. I don't think that was a huge challenge because I think he understood that, you know, he wanted to be there every day. So, I mean, that was my challenge for him, you know. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks. No problem.
Hi, everyone. You guys talked about using emerging technology like AR, Unreal. Was there any particular aspects that you use for AR just besides the parking lot situation, or did you use Unreal Engine for something else as well? Was that used for previs? If anybody wants to elaborate on that, and how was it beneficial for you guys for this project or for future projects?
We used Unreal Engine for previs, yes, and also I would say like lighting studies. We did a lot of experimentation there. It was super beneficial. We worked quickly, and it let us get things in front of Guillermo as quickly as possible, get his feedback, get alignment. So it was very beneficial. And yeah, moving forward, we would do the same thing. I mean, the thing about Unreal that was good is, you know, you're not looking at like gray shaded, simplistic Maya viewport 2.0. I'm not knocking Autodesk or anything. I'm just saying having Unreal gives you that visual fidelity with early stage work, which is really helpful, I think, for everyone to just get their head into like, what is this thing going to be? So it was good. It was successful. It was a good process. We had some really skilled people, like Ben Alepko. Like, we had some really good guys come in and help us tool up for Unreal and figure out how to use it. So yeah, it was a good experience. I don't know if you want to speak to the AR on set or anything. But.
I mean, it was invaluable when we were location scouting, and then the Wolf post-viz that we did was really great, and that stayed in the edit for, I feel like it was in there for months, while the CG was happening with ILM, right?
Yeah, like Guillermo would be like, this shot has a birthday. When are we gonna see the, you know, because we had the wolves.
So that's a shot having a birthday, meaning it's been a temp for more than a year. Yeah. So he's like, this shot's having a birthday. When am I gonna see a final?
A few shots did indeed have birthdays, but But yeah, we had the pre-viz or post-viz wolves in there for a long time. So we used Unreal Engine for, pre-viz, we used AR, we used Unreal Engine for post-viz. And again, I mean, this is invaluable for storytelling. We had it in there for even some of the Spielberg screenings and some of the other like high-level screenings. So yeah, I mean, you can't do that. You can't iterate that fast in true CG. So yeah, we leaned in a lot.
It's that squintable factor, because like I don't think at any point we had anything gray in the movie. We
No.
just had a rule: don't put in gray. Let's put it through Unreal.
No gray, no
get some
blue,
textures
no
on
green.
it.
Yeah.
Because it takes you out, and the whole thing we were trying to do was fill it full of things that were going to show you what it was going to feel like. And I appreciate getting layouts and everything, but gray just kind of kills that. So we leaned into it hard.
Yeah, we even, I mean, even some of the stuff that Andrew did, there were some black cards that we filled, just, quick iterations with Andrew Nguyen. I don't know if anyone knows him in here, but he's amazing and did some quick temp stuff, and some of that stuff lived in the edit for maybe not a birthday, but quite a while. And once you're telling the story, you can move on to something else where the story isn't told. So it's like, you comb through the film. What isn't telling the story? What isn't telling, and you really identify some of those shots, and you're like, oh shit, that's, we need to, So it's because some stuff, you have to park it for a while. The volume is so high, you have to park it and then circle back. So yeah, some of those iterative tools are invaluable for sure.
Cool, thank you very much. And it's great to see Mr. X back. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
A huge round of applause for our panelists, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you guys. Thanks.